Hello everyone and welcome back to Sudden Wealth. I hope you guys are doing very well. If you do enjoy the content, please consider dropping that like and subscribe. It greatly helps the channel, so thank you very much for your support. So cutting right to the chase, if you guys have been following this channel, you may recall that in the beginning of the year, so all the way back to January or something like that, my god, feels like an eternity away, I did mention something about having expectations that the Russell 2000 would outperform the other indices. Now, I was expecting it to start happening somewhere around April to May, but it ends up actually happening in July, or starting right now, also based on the previous week's price action, in which the CPI comes lower, Nasdaq and the S&P, but particularly the Nasdaq, sells quite aggressively. That's what you call a bad rumor sell the news event, ladies and gentlemen. And the Russell 2000 ends up being the biggest beneficiary. Now, I'm not going to take credit for any kind of prediction because I did expect this to happen earlier in the year. So, in my point of view, I'm wrong. Still happening in 2024, but in any case, look, out of all the major indices in the US, you have the Dow Jones, the S&P, the Nasdaq 100, which is the one that I look most, which is the 100 top companies in the Nasdaq, and then you have the Russell 2000. Now, the Russell 2000 is the only one that hasn't made a new all-time high. So the new all-time high was in 2021, and it was around 2,425, something like that. And we now finally stand at 2,135.40, which means we still have about 300 points to go. So a little bit further to go. However, this was something that I always felt during the rate hikes. And I think for the oldest followers, you guys will remember this. I always said most people thought that the Nasdaq would be the great impacted by the rate hikes. So as the rates would go up, the Dow Jones, because it's filled with industrial companies that service very basic needs of consumers, I think everybody agreed that it would hang on well, and it did. It was the one that went down the list. The S&P would go down a bit more, but not so much. And the Nasdaq was going to be the biggest impacted. And in the beginning it was, also because it was the one that benefited the most of the rate cuts prior to that. However, what I think people fail to realize is while the rate hikes really impact, high growth, loss-making companies, I mean, particularly, my God, garbage stocks, garbage. When I say garbage, I mean, it doesn't mean it cannot be good, but I mean, companies like AMC, etc., they completely got annihilated, but that is a garbage stock. But sometimes you have these companies like high growth, still loss-making, with high capex needs, high capital expenditures and investments needed to eventually turn a profit and become a proper company. So those ones are indeed impacted, you're right. But the point is that the Nasdaq is dominated by a few companies which are the best of the best in the world, to be honest. So those can withstand the pain of rate hikes, no problems, no questions asked. Actually, they were doing something quite funny, which took some time people to figure it out, which was, you remember when the rates were inverted, meaning the short-term rates were higher than the long-term rates. So what these companies were doing was, because their credit rating is so strong and there's so much appetite for their bonds, they would be issuing 10-year bonds, 15-year bonds, right? And then using part of that cash to place deposits at the shorter end of the stick, because they would get pretty much, the very high rates on the deposit side, which means that for them, this exercise would actually be a net positive, if you can think about it. So you need to picture this, right? Long-term, longer dated rates were lower than shorter dated rates, which is what means by the inverted yield curve. So they will be borrowing on the long side and placing deposits on the short side, and actually net getting a benefit from doing that. Quite interesting. But the point being, the thing that doesn't benefit at all is the Russell 2000. And you may ask, why is that? Well, because the Russell 2000 represents small companies. That is the closest you get to the real economy. See, not the economy for a few selected winners in the world. I'm talking about the real US economy, not the ones that CNBC tries to portray, not the ones coming from the fake government's data, the real one, where the zombie companies cannot survive, where the bankruptcies mount, where the pain is felt the worst. And I had a theory, which was once rate cuts and inflation really comes down and then rate cuts become priced in, I thought that the Russell 2000 would play catch up to the under indices and do better than them. Will I be right? Or was that the correct assessment? Or was just a pie in the dream? We'll see. But one thing that I want to say, and I've said this many times before, rate cuts are a buy the rumor, sell the news event. You see, stocks have been going up and up and up on the expectation of rate cuts, trying to price in how rates will behave in the next couple of months or couple of years or next year, whatever. Once again, the market is pricing in an event into the future. And that event is deemed to be bullish, which it is, because more liquidity will come into risk assets. However, all of this, what this is a buy the rumor, sell the news event. So I do expect, once actually rates get cut, for the short period after that, maybe the next couple of months or so, you're going to see a substantial drop in the stock market. I would say most likely somewhere between around 10%, seems about right, until the actually fresh money and the fresh liquidity comes pouring in. Now, when it comes to crypto, a few things have happened which are actually quite positive. Number one, Bitcoin, Germany, has virtually no Bitcoin left. Good. Since they've sold, they can no longer sell in the future. And I get the feeling that a lot of memes are going to be created about the Germans selling Bitcoin at 50K when they could have been selling it at 120K. We'll see. Then Mt. Gox coins have started to be released. Not a lot of them yet, but they've started to be released. So that's also another cleanup event, if you want to call it, that we hope to get sorted out between July and August. And then quarter four comes in with FTX settlements, which people will receive $16.16 billion in USDC, not in Bitcoin, in USDC. So if half of the people decide to put it back in crypto, well, we'll see what's going to happen. But potentially it can be a good thing that I don't think is getting priced in. Also, if you pay attention over the past couple of weeks, the US ETFs have been net buyers of quite substantial amounts. So BlackRock is buying the Bitcoin that people don't want. Actually, it's the funniest thing, which is we've never seen so much depression and fear with such high prices, which is quite funny. If you look at this based on any other benchmark previously in any other cycle, we are actually way up in price at the moment for the time of the cycle. However, the sentiment has never been worse, which is great. You need people feeling bad and fearful so we can go up. If everybody is bullish and everybody has already bought, they can only do one thing, which is sell. So always keep that in mind. Now, I was asked to comment my view on the Richard Hart coins. As you guys know, I've said this multiple times before, I consider them my retirement coins. Now, I have no dreams of grandeur like certain YouTubers had, like 10,000x for each Richard Hart coin. I never bought it. Or things like, oh, it's going to do better than Bitcoin on the downside. Never bought it. But I do believe that ecosystem can do around 50, 75 fold, somewhere between 50 fold and 75 fold across the coins in the ecosystem. Can it do better than that? Sure. Can do 300 fold, can do 500 fold, can do 250 fold. The point is, I'm not positioning myself for that. I've disclosed my position 100 times before, which is if the ecosystem, if those coins, PLS, PLSX, X on Ethereum and on Pulsechain, Hydron and Icosa, if they do put them all together, and if they do a 75x, I'll be already good enough to retire. You see, what I did was I positioned myself so I don't need 1,000x to succeed. See, I will be just fine with a 75x, 50x, 60x. I will do very, very well already. That was my point. Now, the thing is a cycle 2 narrative and cycle 1 coins, which means they pump later in the bull market. You see, I've taken advantage, as these prices have been completely subdued and completely in the shitter. I've accumulated large clips of those coins, and I've told you, I've disclosed that beforehand. I said prices are so low, I'm going to deploy another very large clip, probably my last one, in Pulsechain and Pulsex, which I've done. I've done when was it? I think 2 weeks ago. And pretty much those coins have been the laughing stock of crypto. A lot of people have called Richard Hart a scammer, which is all good things for me, my opinion, my perspective, which is that means that we are not in crazy prices yet. As you guys know, when did I talk about, for example, Andy on Ethereum at $1.5 million market cap? When did I talk about Hoppy on Ethereum at $1.2 million market cap? When did I talk about Birddog? 400, 550K market cap. Do I talk about them in the sense of, oh, I see that this may be a very good lottery ticket when they are at, $200 million market cap? No, I talk about them when nobody wants them, nobody thinks they're going to do anything, and nobody has any hope. That to me is the best time to buy. See, I'm in the business of buying cheap and selling expensive. I could just wait. What I could do is I could just wait for the RH ecosystem to pump, and then I come here when the whole thing is, up fivefold, and then I start talking about it. Yeah, but you see, then it's very easy. You see, the hard part is to find the value when nobody else can spot it, Buying Amazon at a new all-time high is very easy. Buying Amazon at $6 after a 95% crash, now that's a little bit harder. That's how I envision it. You see, like I try to identify the narratives of this cycle being Pepe friend related coins, particularly in Ethereum, because Ethereum has been underperforming, which means that when Ethereum actually overperforms, everything within the ecosystem should go up crazy amounts. That's my expectation. And potentially I'm going to delve into another Trump coin as we get closer to the election. Usually what I do is I look at small market cap, no honeypots, no sell taxes, no nothing of that nature, contracts renounced, liquidity burns, and then I deploy a little bit of money, $700 here, $800 there, $850 here. If I feel a bit more confident on one, maybe I drop $1,500, but that's about it. And every time in different wallets. So I don't let those coins touch my main wallet because I don't know what kind of code it's embedded in them. Why don't I know what kind of code is embedded in them? Because they are new coins. Anything can happen. I don't have the time to spend like I did in the bear market to make my decision. So I need to be pragmatic. Say, okay, fine. If I'm right, I'm going to make a lot of money. To be honest, with the money they already took out for my lottery tickets, all my lottery tickets could go to zero tomorrow, and I would still be very much up. But that's the point. That's the purpose of the lottery tickets. I'm already completely de-risked. That's why when Andy just dropped from 320 million to 80 million, I don't sweat. You go on Telegram group, a lot of people are sweating. What I like to see is that the holders keep on increasing, the Telegram users keep on increasing, and I still believe that Pepe will have a massive run, probably into the $40-50 billion market cap, just like Dogecoin had, which tells me that Andy and the other ones will do well. One coin that seems to be not doing great and probably will go to the shitter is Foti, Pepe's girlfriend, or it's around 600K. I am considering dropping $1,000 into that one. If I'm wrong, okay, fine, I lost $1,000. If I'm right, I caught it very cheap. Nobody wants to buy 40 at the moment. Exactly. That's why I like it. You see? This is how my brain works. Now, if you don't agree with me, if you think that's complete nonsense and that I'm going to lose all my money, you are completely entitled to believe that and to think that I'm a complete idiot. Of course, I'm not here trying to convince you. It is not a church. I'm not here to to try to make you follow me into anything. No, I do it, and I disclose it, and I talk about it when it's not popular to talk about it. Now, the reason why I like Richard Hart coins is because, okay, there goes a billionaire founder who keeps buying his own coins. Okay, I like it. Here goes a cultish community. I like it. Here goes a few products that never been hacked, never been down, 100% operational. Okay, I also like that. They fit a cycle 2 narrative. Okay, probably they won't do 1000x, but maybe they will do a nice 50, 75, maybe 100x. Okay, I can dig with that. Likelihood of going to zero, in my view, very little. Likelihood of underperforming everything, in my view, very little. Why? Because the founder has put 170,000 Ethereum, bought 170,000 of Ethereum, which he will, in my view, rotate after Ethereum goes to the moon. I think Ethereum will do very well this cycle. Will it surpass Bitcoin this cycle? Maybe. I think so. If it's not going to cross, it is going to come very close, in my view. And then I just ask myself where we are in the cycle. Are we in euphoria mode? No. I've started to see traders calling the Bitcoin 10. They're calling now, right now, Bitcoin to go to $10,000. Okay, another bottom signal. Great. Germany sold everything. Great. Mt. Gox. Great. Grayscale Bitcoin Trust sold more than half of their coins. Okay, great. Are we printing money like there's no tomorrow yet? No. Is the Ethereum ETF out? No. Is retail here? No. Are we in complete euphoria? Are things being sold for $1 million like completely stupid, like picture of monkeys being sold for $1 million? No. Are we? So you see, there's a lot of things that haven't happened yet. When we get to the euphoria phase, it will be very obvious because, well, number one, I'll tell you we are in the euphoria phase, and the euphoria phase can last 3 months, 4 months, 2 months. That's all possible. I will probably try to see what the masses will be focusing on that time, what kind of coins, and I'll probably play a little bit with some of them to try to catch a quick 100x, 200x, because that's opportunities that arise during the euphoria phase, not now, when everything is euphoric, when Jim Cramer comes out of retirement just to do an episode on crypto. Maybe he launches even his own meme coin. We are not even close. He's still bearish. Everybody's still bearish. Now all the main channels are calling Bitcoin 40K, which tells me that maybe 52.9 or whatever was really the bottom. So that's how I feel about it. So I relax. I think about the things where we are in the cycle, where we are progressing, what are the things that I'm looking for. This is what I care. And then I talk about them, particularly before there's massive pumps. Because I don't see the point in talking about a coin that just did 100x and then come here and say, hey, this coin just did 100x and it's amazing. It's going to go it's going to overtake Bitcoin. I mean, no, that's not for me. You see, because that's the point. I don't need this to survive. I do YouTube for fun. So that's why I don't see the typical garbage out there that you see from the other channels. I mean, you go to a channel like Discover Crypto, and it's like everything is wrong one day, everything is right the other, and sell everything the next day, buy everything the next one, or Rayload or the crypto banter guy, right? I sold all my Ethereum, then next week I bought all my Ethereum. I mean, it's just going with the flow. And then he said, I sold all my Solana, but now he bought all his Solana back again. I mean, sure. I mean, it depends on the color of the chart. That's what the content that you're going to hear from those channels is going to be about. But in any case, guys, I hope I've made myself clear. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. I don't mind it. But I hope that you guys enjoy the content, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you very much for your support.